And we're now at the final section, other functions. So these are some advanced features as well as some useful things that might enhance your production. But as you saw, I mean, there's plenty you can do with the basic functions on the V-160HD. So it's time to dive a little deeper here. And we will have additional content to support these functions. Remember, again, this is kind of a preview guide just to get some of you up and running with the V-160HD. So this is not like a formal tutorial, but really just a resource to help some of you get up to speed on this product. So preset memories, the mode function here, we talked about aux in the early videos. If you press it, it goes to memory and it goes to macro. We're going to talk about memory presets here, right? So you can have different configurations that are mapped to these presets. Now, don't mind the display here. I had some different sources earlier for this configuration, but this is just to show you that you can kind of create these different looks and with the memory presets. And to save a preset, you simply just hold down the preset that you want to save to or that you want to overwrite, and it will save those settings to the unit. Now you can take it all a step further by going into number 13, preset memory. Initialize will delete a memory, so if you wanted to free up that slot, you can always overwrite it, but you can also erase it. You can edit the names of them, and of course this would be easier with the remote app when that's released, so you can just quickly type them all out with the iPad. You can have it start up with your last settings when you powered it off, but if you want it to boot to a specific memory, you can do it here. Now you have 30 memories, and if you want no one else to make any changes to your memories, you can enable memory protect, and they can be recalled, but they can't be saved or deleted until this is turned off. And number of memory switches, you can do a 30 memory mode. So you can see here that, like, if I wanted to save to memory 30, now this is 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30. But you're going to lose your program and preset buttons. So this is if you're going to do scene switching. This might be a great tool because you can transition picture-in-picture and downstream keyer in and out with presets. So if you get creative with it, you can do some pretty seamless scene switching with the 160, and you could kind of just do it all off of here. You can also recall them off the remote app when that's released. That's a really flexible way to do it as well. You can set the fade time for preset memories with which assets come in and out on the composition layers. Now keep in mind though, if you change a video assignment or you change a pip or DSK source, that can affect the recall of a preset. So you want to be careful with how things are changed as you recall. But again though, you know, for the most part, if you have the same set of sources and the same general configuration, you can use presets to create different scene layouts and, you know, have these really smooth dissolves between everything. Load parameter, this is a really interesting menu. So this basically tells the presets which sections of the menu to load. And you'll notice that some of these are disabled by default. And actually they're not. I take that back. But like, say for example, if my audio settings are all dialed in and I don't want them to be affected by preset recalls, I can turn these off. So now whenever I recall a preset, my audio settings are not affected. They just stay as they are. Because you want to keep in mind, as you save a preset, all those audio settings, all those video settings, transitions, picture-in-picture, DSK, it's all saved to that preset. So if you accidentally change something and then when you recall the preset, you know, sometimes you're like, what happened to my audio settings? It can be helpful to go into this load parameter and disable the audio ones if you're, you know, dealing with a fairly simple audio setup or is consistent regardless of the preset that you're recalling, right? And from there, we'll talk about macros. So there's a macro menu. So we talked about this macro mode here where you can store up to 100 macros. You can have macros call up memory presets, call up other macros. So there's quite a lot that you can do with these. I have a demo set up here where it has 10 demo macros and subroutines for turning picture-in-pictures on and off and moving them around. So if you go into the list edit, you'll see all these different functions. And so you can create a sequence of commands and you can preview it. or you can just execute it by pressing this button. So, for example, I don't have pips sources in some of these pips, but you can create 4 picture-in-picture windows and have them animate. So, it's a very flexible tool for really enhancing the production. You can enlarge and shrink those picture-in-picture windows, so it's almost like a DVE effect. And also with that, you can set timing rules. You can have multiple commands run at the same time or run in sequence. And then from there, you can feed it into another macro. And it also has a protection where it won't loop. If you have it loop back into existing or previous macro, it won't do it because that would create an infinite loop. So it's smart about that as well. It just won't give you that option. And again, you have that option to do 30 macros like you had with the memory presets. And you can choose which macros assign to which button, whether it's 10 or 30. And you can name them just like you can with the memory presets. So again, helpful with the iPad app. And you can also edit macros with the iPad app. So once you have your hands on the remote app, you have the advantage of just making it a lot easier to edit those macros and even execute them off of the tablet. So macros, especially for production where, maybe in say, it's the same kind of setup every time or same general workflow, macros could really come in handy and start saving time because, common sequences of button presses on the switcher, you could all of a sudden, start working those into these routines that can just be a single button press and, get you what you need without having to, press 6 different things on the switcher. So, there's an exciting new technology worked into this switcher. It adds a lot of flexibility to it. And if you want to take it a step further, as I mentioned in the first video, we have the sequencer. So you hold this for 2 seconds, you're in a sequencer mode, and you can load up macros as well as memory presets and put them into this sequence and then run through them with this next button. So that's another tool that you can use to kind of create like a run a show for the video switcher to kind of go through these macros and presets for like scene switching and configuration.